This is how things start. You have to, first of all, have conviction to even come out and publicly start talking about it before you can win converts. Even Jesus Christ. Self-defense is recognized in law. If you try to bamboozle me, for instance, I'm permitted to fight back.
When you say retain the martial arts part of it, what are you talking about kung fu and all the other?
Whatever it is that you do to develop yourself, but it's not for commercial purposes, is allowed.
Are you comparing poetry and literature to boxing?
I will compare anything. That's the beauty of knowledge. Knowledge is transcendental. It's not restricted to a particular place. We've signed up to the fact that this might take a whole lifetime. We can't stand, the injustice. Look, we read law and we were taught in the faculty of law that grievous bodily harm is unlawful, is illegal. And then somebody comes and says, in the name of sports, you are inflicting grievous bodily harm. Just because one young man somewhere just wanted to find his prodigality. It's okay, you come, I want to... Look, what happened to him?
Welcome to the Playzone podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Playzone podcast. Good to have you join us, by the way. My name is Charles Anazodo, and I do know that you are watching the FIFA World Cup, and right now it's in beast mode. 3 African nations, as of the time of this recording, have left the FIFA World Cup. That's talking about South Africa. Ivory Coast has gone as well, and of course Tunisia was the very first one to have left in the group stages. Now, what exactly are the expectations of the 9 that go through to the round of 32? Are we going to have an African nation in the semi-finals as we did Morocco in the last edition? That is exactly what we are all anticipating and waiting for that day when Africa will play in the finals of the FIFA World Cup. That could be this one. You never know. Now, my question to you is, of all the teams that you've seen so far, that's talking about African representation, which one do you think really has played the very best of football? I can imagine that a lot of people would say Morocco, yeah? Lots of people might say Egypt, maybe, but it's still left to be seen. It's about how far you progress. That's exactly what puts greatness upon your head. Welcome once again. We're going to talk, just slightly around the FIFA World Cup, but that is not predominantly why we are here today on the Playzone podcast. I do have with me a man who is going to be talking about a different kind of sports, combat sports. Yeah, he's a lawyer, and a lawyer who is looking to take bread away from the mouth of very many athletes right there who are competing at the very highest of levels. His name, Tosin Akande, joins us this day right here on the Playzone podcast. Tosin, how are you?
What a way to introduce.
but that's the truth.
I'm fine.
But before we get into the reason you're here,
It's okay.
I spoke about the FIFA World Cup, yeah?
That's it.
What exactly has been your finest of moments?
Oh, well, the finest moment for me was when Morocco stormed the world and played out a 1-1 draw with Brazil. The way they played, the goals, the chances, beautifully taken. They matched Brazil skill for skill, grit for grit, strength for strength.
Yeah.
So I was proud of them.
There are a few people who argue that this Brazilian side is the worst of the lot that have ever played at the FIFA World Cup. Brazil, by the way, have qualified for every FIFA World Cup.
That's true.
And this one doesn't really look as spectacular as the ones we've seen in the past.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to join or identify with that kind of thought. Reason being that Brazil, they have been so good over the years with football that they can tell you that this was the best team that never won the World Cup. A la the 82
Exactly,
set,
yes,
all right?
yes, that 82 set,
They have been that good. So if Nigeria had a team that had stars like Casemiro, Cunha, that guy,
Vinicius.
that beast at Real Madrid, Vinicius Junior, it would have been El Dorado for us, perhaps. So if we couldn't even assemble a team that went to the World Cup, I wouldn't know. I don't know the nativity or the nations of those who are sharing that kind of thought that this is perhaps about the weakest Brazilian team. But the onus on them, they know, which they all know, is that they should get to the final and win.
Well, I'm off that school of thought.
That's
yeah,
right.
that this is the worst I've seen of the Brazilian national team. I mean, look at how they played against Scotland. Scotland had not been to the World Cup in, 18 years?
But it's never about the duration that you have been there or not.
I know,
it's about the form
but
of the
I'm
position.
talking about the performance. The performance against Scotland was not
Woeful.
what we know of the usual Brazilian squad that we've seen at FIFA World Cups. So, based on that,
Charles,
it's been a bit disappointing,
let's
to be
not forget
honest.
one fact.
Yeah.
Other nations of the world are trying to catch up
Mm.
with the latest trends in sports generally,
Yeah.
especially football. And there was a time, I'm sure you remember, Nigeria, it used to be a walk in the park when we played against African nations. 4-0 here at the National Stadium in Surulere here in Lagos. It used to be 4-0. And then towards the end of the game, you see the fans chanting, we won't go Role. All we are saying, give us more goal. But it's no longer so. Look at how Senegal picked. Look at Morocco.
Yeah.
So other countries are also trying to catch up. It's no longer business as usual for the leading teams in football anymore. It's no longer.
Okay, so
I'm afraid,
Yeah.
let me do a spoiler here. I'm afraid if Cabo Verde will create a monstrous upset against Argentina, it might happen.
Well, by the time our viewers watch this particular episode,
Yes.
that would have either been the case or
exactly.
not.
Or not,
Yeah.
okay.
But when you look at, based on your thoughts,
Yeah.
on how teams are catching up with one another,
Yeah.
so it comes as no surprise to you that
No,
the
at
Super
all.
Eagles are not at the World Cup.
Yes, it's I'm
It's
not
no
surprised.
surprise.
In fact, the Congolese guys outplayed us on that day. I want to believe you remember that match.
Yeah.
We were outplayed. They were better than us. And maybe owing to arrogance, conceitedness, I don't know what came over our players. And I see more of entertainment nature. They are more of entertainment driven than, athletically driven. You need to have that hunger, that bite. It's missing. Look at Vinicius. Look at Mbappe. Look at Dembele. These are players who want to play for the badge. It's not so in our case. It's not. I disagree. It's not so with our case.
So you blame the players for inability?
I do. Of course, administratively, we've always had problems.
Yeah.
But which I said then to a lot of people who came for my opinion on TV and on radio, like, is the players' hunger first. You need to show that hunger because in the final analysis, it's all about you. You only representing Nigeria. Nigeria, the country is only giving you the platform to show off your talents, your skills. But this thing boils down to you.
So based on this, there's a likelihood that Nigeria just might not qualify for yet. Because, back to back.
It's sad, honestly. And and that's what I was shouting that time. That do these players know that this thing boils down to them?
Yeah.
It's about you. So, I watch our games and would you imagine, what's his name? Chukwueze, especially. He's always, being the one in leading, getting speakerphones, and they're saying, would you do that under a Ferguson? Would you do that under a Mourinho? No, you dare not. So that aspect, that disciplinary aspect needs to be emphasized.
It's an African thing to find a way to ginger yourselves. And beating the drums, singing in the bus.
Not just in the bus. I'm talking about when you are, maybe you are getting into the dressing room or coming out for the match, at the outset of a game.
Yeah.
Coming out of the bus, you should be serious. You should know that this is a business. After 90 minutes, we can do that. Work before pleasure. That's the orientation. Work before pleasure.
Okay, it's disappointing, to be honest, that the Super
Very.
Eagles are not at the FIFA World Cup, especially knowing the sort of talent that we have in our national team. But as Tosin says, it's gone beyond talent. You've got to have that extra desire, and that was exactly what was missing, in our Super Eagles. I've always said that when you fight a fight, you need to fight when it matters.
That's true.
And the Super Eagles fighting for their allowances and their bonuses, which is their right, but at the time they fought the fight, it was a wrong moment.
Yeah, they were being penny-wise.
It was a wrong moment.
They were just
qualify
being
for the
penny-wise
FIFA
and
World Cup
pounds
first.
Yes.
And then tell the country that, look, I'm not going to go to the World Cup unless you give me my monies.
Yes, now.
But first, get the job done.
Get the job done.
That's always been my argument, and a lot of people don't like it, but
They missed it at that point. Now, I align with you.
yeah.
They missed that point. Now they are not there. Their mates, their colleagues from elsewhere are shining now. And it will definitely up their market value, while theirs will keep sliding down.
What do you think about one of our players, who was part and parcel of our inability to qualify for the FIFA World Cup? Now he's a pundit on one of the satellite television stations, talking about the FIFA World Cup. I'm talking about Alex Iwobi here.
As a gentleman, I think I appreciate his gentlemanliness as well. He's a gentleman. I don't think there was any sporting error in him being a pundit for the TV stations.
Some people say you should be hiding your face in shame because your mates are out there in the USA, Mexico, and Canada strutting their stuff, and here you are, analyzing the game of football. On what basis should you be analyzing a game when you fail to make it to the tournament in itself?
Oh, well, first and foremost, commerce is involved, I'm sure. He will be handsomely rewarded for this.
Definitely.
So, even if he had gone to the World Cup, he will also be handsomely rewarded. Match bonuses will keep flowing. So it's making the most of two terrible situations. I wouldn't be amongst those who are blaming the guy. Okay. It's not his individual fault. Our non-qualification wouldn't have been tied to Iwobi. It's due to a plethora of reasons, which we have always been talking about long before now. So I hope that our administrators and players would have taken this as enough punishment. So subsequent World Cups, in a few years down the line, we will be able to, like Brazil, say, this is the worst thing we have arranged. And you are saying this is the worst thing we have arranged. Well, some countries are not even qualifying. So what luxury do the Brazilians have?
You have an argument there, absolutely. But looking at all the teams that made it through, we already said that 3 have gone home. Yeah. So it's 6 of the 9 left.
That are left.
Which country do you think, or rather, which African country has impressed you the most?
Morocco. I wouldn't mince words. Morocco. And somehow I have some, little feelings that Senegal will up their game later as the tournament progresses. And I think they're out already.
No, Senegal still have a game to play.
They still have a game to play.
As of
they're in the round
this
of 32.
recording,
yes, they are still there.
They still have a game.
Okay, yeah, because they are fit, they are good, so they probably needed to rise with the tempo as the tournament progresses. Some teams start slow. And that's why I'm even afraid of people like you who are thinking that Brazil, you see, they will get into the groove as the tournament progresses, and then anything can. Now we're in the knockout phase.
Brazil hasn't won the tournament since 2002.
It's 2002 years.
Yeah.
Must they win it after every five editions? Is it their birthright? It's not. Other countries are waking up. And
right,
I know
they
want to win this one. I know.
They're going to win this one.
They want to.
Who do you think is going to win it?
In no particular order. France, Argentina, personally because of Lionel Messi.
Okay.
Argentina, and perhaps Morocco.
I like the fact that you laughed because an African nation winning the FIFA World Cup, I think we possibly still have an extra 20 years to go. Yeah,
it's all right.
We keep knocking on the door. Yeah, but I don't think we're knocking hard enough.
Not hard enough.
There's a lot that goes into winning a FIFA World Cup, and I don't think the African nations have it as of yet.
But only God knows what Pele saw. Only God knows what Pele saw a few years ago when he said...
Yeah, but when he said it, he mentioned Nigeria. He mentioned Nigeria. Nigeria is far from it.
Well, at that time, he mentioned Nigeria. We were really a fantastic soccer-playing nation. We have disappointed Pele.
Yeah, of course.
He has become an ancestor now, and he's looking at us with some regrets.
All right, talking about disappointments, Tosin, the reason you're here, for some people who have seen you before,
yes.
Who know of your of your desire, yeah,
it's all right.
They might be wondering what exactly is Tosin on about. I mean, this has been going on for quite a bit, but your desire really is to see the eradication,
the abolition,
yes, of combat sports, not just in Nigeria but around the world.
Yes,
yeah,
but there's an error here.
Yeah, what's the error?
Not the abolition of all combat sports.
Specific ones.
2 specifically.
Okay.
And that is the boxing and the UFC.
And the UFC.
That's
mixed martial arts.
Well,
Mixed martial arts.
Some people...
Because UFC is not the only one that's involved in mixed martial arts.
Well, but basically boxing and the UFC.
Why are you specific of the UFC?
Yeah, humanitarian reasons. Basically, we are championing this cause, looking at mankind. We've evolved over the years. They taught us, I'm sure they taught you too, and I'm sure they taught the viewers at home as well, that man has evolved through civilizations. Three. Homo habilis, that's the early man. Homo erectus, and then Homo sapiens, which we are in the category of modern man. And there's nothing modern about a sport. First and foremost, I don't agree these are sports. I call them scourges. They are not sports. There might be a rhythmical or poetic relationship between both, but I don't see them as sports. I mean, you're pummeling a fellow human being, and you say this is sports. This is not entertainment. In leading schools of philosophy in countries like Germany, they call it shedding fraud. All right? So killjoy, harm joy. If somebody's joy is dependent on how unfortunate the other person is, that is not the attribute of the modern man. You can say, fine, this is the attribute of those cavemen, the early men, when might was right. Okay, yes. But it's no longer so. We have become civilized. We call ourselves modern man. And so I sat down sometimes, some 7, 8 years ago, and I was looking at the rudiments of the sport. Maybe because I'm a lawyer. We were taught in the law, faculty of law, about affray. That is fighting. It's wrong. As I was growing up, I realized that even all the religions there are frown on fighting. And these are the major things that hold the human civilization as we have it. Contemporary human society is talking about obnobbing between religion, law, morality, philosophy. All of these leading lights frown at boxing or fighting generally. And now there's a difference between fighting and boxing. Fighting is natural.
Yes.
Boxing is not. Fighting is innate. Boxing is induced. And so that's where the error really comes from. And if I go down the historical antecedents of boxing, you'll be amazed.
Isn't boxing innate? Because it's termed to be a skill, boxing. Not everybody can box. Anybody can get involved in a fight. Yeah. And as far as law is concerned, fighting is illegal. But boxing in itself is legal. It's legal because...
Let me shed some light on this for you and for the viewers.
Yeah.
I try to distinguish between fighting and boxing. Now, in this boxing, one thing that is dominant is that martial arts is involved. Even in the UFC and in boxing, it comes with some benefits. We are not arguing that. We are not disputing that. And that's why we are saying the chief meat of our proposition is that retain the martial aspect of it. In other words, the commercialization of the fight is what we are saying is not right. The fact that it is bringing so much money, but for a few. If you look at the total number of boxers we have churned out and their families, I'm saying now, I make bold to say that their population has never been in the same realm as those of us who are not into fighting to make money. Prize fighting was the original name they gave to it when it first started. Prize
fighting is illegal, and it still is.
And I'm coming. I want to ensure that you don't have any bias, because from the way you introduced me alone, afraid catch me, as they say on the streets. Okay, so you see, you have come down to the crux of prize fighting. What are you fighting for? For a prize, for a reward?
Yes.
Is that not what obtains now? These guys go fight, and then you hear about $25-30 million prizes as prize.
Yeah, but this is organized.
That's the thing.
This is under a body that governs, sanctions, and ensures the safety of those involved in the art.
Now, someone asked me, I'll never forget, it's one of your friends, Tosin asked me. He said, but how about all the improvements in refine? I said, you cannot improve. Neither can you ever refine cruelty. We are talking about the spirit of the thing.
But there are improvements, Tosin. Because in prize fighting, yeah, there are no gloves and there's no headgear. But in today's boxing, yeah, I don't want to call it fighting. In today's boxing, you find people wearing different kinds of gloves depending on the ounce.
You can see
yeah?
I'm laughing.
At the Olympics,
Yes.
yeah, you used to have headgear until most recently.
The amateur side of it.
Yes, the amateur side. You have the protective element, around the sports. So there are safety regulations around it.
And that's why we are telling you that you cannot refine cruelty. I said at the heart of the sport, let me concede to you that they call it sport. We see it as a scourge. At the heart of it is cruelty. Because in boxing, you are not allowed to hit below the belt. I'm sure you know.
Yes.
It's one of those rules in the Broughton rules of 1749. And they were improving on it in their own opinion. Now, let's look at the racial angle to it. Is it every time that those people from the other side of the seas bring something that we must swallow it hook, line, and sinker? Now they are talking about, they brought hydration into it. And I heard Salman Kalu was complaining that they are destroying the beauty of the game. Even though they will tell you that it's for humanitarian reasons as well, those guys must not be overworked, they should refresh a little bit, take some water, and so on and so forth. But what I'm trying to let you realize is that we are not just a consumer nation of all sorts. They just come here, dump things on us. What input is the African having in all of these sports issues? Okay, for instance, we don't do traditionally in Africa, we don't do boxing. We don't do fist fighting.
It's wrestling.
What we do is wrestling. Okay? Yeah. And even at that, there is some human face to it. I'm sure you know, when we all watch Things Fall Apart on TV, you are not allowed to do body slam the way they do it over there. You can't carry your opponent sky high and put it. You are just supposed to we have to be creative in making sure that his back touches the ground. That is the scoring point. That is how to score in traditional wrestling. But here in boxing, you must deface the person. Sometimes I see some of Pacquiao's fights, and I'm bleeding at heart.
I might disagree with you there, Tosin.
Hold on.
I'm saying, wait, hang on.
It's all right.
It's the term that you use that is a bit bothersome, because you say the idea of boxing is to deface. I tend to disagree. The idea is to score points, yeah? And you score points, very good. But you score points by hitting any part of the body from the waist upwards, yeah? Mm-hmm. Now, if you hit the face, it gives you further advantage because you could knock out your opponent. But the idea is to score points and not to deface. We must make that clear.
Have you watched footages of Ali?
Yeah, in the
talking against the same spot.
Yeah, but in the desire to hit the face of your opponents, yeah, you might deface him. It could be swellings, in different parts of the face.
And is that pleasant?
No, what I'm saying is that the idea is not to deface.
It's okay.
It's to score points.
We agree to disagree or disagree to agree. I understand. I hear you, as we say in the streets.
Yeah.
Okay, but now look at this other aspect of it. I'm trying to put up a scenario. Someone goes for a boxing fight and then he's paid $30 million, for instance, and then he's spending the proceeds. And you begin to wonder, let us trace the historical antecedents of boxing itself. In England, I want you to know, and I want the viewers who are watching at home to realize that there was a time it was illegal. And there were statutory court decisions, the State Against Ward, for instance, which emphasized that fighting in public is illegal.
Yeah.
It's a breach of the peace of the society.
Yes.
There's another one, and Orton, the State and Orton, which emphasized some other things. And the one that is landmark for me is and Coney, 1882 case. It's still there in England. And we received English law into Nigeria. I hope you know that. As of January 1st, 1900. And so and Coney, the State and Coney, is still part of our laws. But unfortunately, because nobody is talking about it, as we say in courts, in law, we say the courts are no Father Christmases. It's only when you come forward and ask for something. You ask for a prayer and it's granted. Now look at and Coney. They say consent notwithstanding. Consent of the fighters notwithstanding. Boxing in public runs against the test of public policy. That is the meat of our argument.
But how successful can you be in this venture of yours? Because
Okay.
boxing has become such
no,
a
no.
global thing where people have made hundreds of millions of pounds and dollars
I agree.
just being involved in it.
I agree.
Which is the reason for my introduction, because by virtue of what you're doing, you're trying to take away food. If you cannot be a mechanic, if you cannot be, if you cannot sell akara on the streets of Lagos or wherever it is,
It's all right.
and your art is in boxing, isn't that a way of presumably getting you out of poverty?
This is the thinking. This is how a lawyer thinks. A lawyer looks at the greater good of all. He is not looking at the greater good of an insignificant few. All right, that's one. And then let me quickly answer your question. Say, how successful will be? I'll answer it this way. Those of us at FABO, Forum Against Boxing and the UFC, are not. We've signed up to the fact that this might take a whole lifetime. Even after we must have gone, there are landmark events in human history that took place post the death of those who championed it. Shakespeare, for instance, never witnessed his stardom. It was after his death that his friends began to collate some of his writings and articles, and before we know it, A Midsummer's Night Dream, Macbeth, what have you, all his books.
Are you comparing poetry and literature to boxing?
I will compare anything. That's the beauty of knowledge. Knowledge is transcendental. It's not restricted to a particular place. I'll advert the minds of the viewers to the issue of slavery. Slavery was a monumental ill. In fact, it was one of the monstrous human errors that we committed against ourselves. I'm talking about the white folks and the black folks. But it came to an end. I want you to know that while slavery reigned, it was as if it would never stop. But it came to an end. And don't forget, it lasted over 500 years. Don't forget that. So the fact that boxing has been...
But slavery was a trade of human beings, to the Western world.
What I'm saying is that it was described as evil.
Boxing is not evil.
Okay, fine. We are saying that it is evil. And that's our position. And we believe that the entire world, we deserve to be heard first before we are even condemned. And we have our facts. Look at the history of it itself. The very first boxing match took place, according to research, January 6, 1681, in the palace of a certain Chris Monk, of royalty. And then the boxing fight was between his butler and his butcher, a young man.
Blacks?
Presumably. And I don't want to bring in the issue of race into it now. I'm talking, strictly about how boxing started. It was at the behest of one, young man.
For entertainment.
To entertain him.
Yes.
And then it took the life of one of his workers. Because in those days, it was fight to finish.
Yes.
Before the so-called improvements came about. But you see, what we are saying is that you can't improve the spirit behind it. I'm sure those who are lawyers will understand what I'm talking about. When we are talking about the spirit behind something, what was the motivation? He just sat down and felt, okay, I'm fed up. I'm fed, well fed. I'm happy. I'm excited. Okay, you come. Well, fight yourselves. And you think that is entertainment when somebody else is being at the receiving end of serious punishment. Meanwhile, those who brought law to us, the way they couched it, they frowned at what they call grievous bodily harm. And that's exactly what these scourges do. And you people think it's sports. No matter for how long something must have gone, someday the truth will catch up with it. Unfortunately, the truth is coming from this part of the world. And not for the first time, let me advert the minds of viewers. And there has been moves before now by the British Association of, what have you, maybe there have been associations in England and in America that have called for abolition of boxing before. Before, we are not the first to do it. But from this part of the world, in Africa, yes, I understand, we are perhaps the first to do it. And we are not doing it for that honor alone. We are doing it because we are looking strictly at humanitarian values. Okay, I also sent a note to the United Nations, because I made them understand that if at the mega level, macro level, you are trying to restore peace to the world, it will be paying lip service to your desires if you are not looking at this kind of sports. Because some people will just watch a boxing bout and then they say, my son too will start fighting. But they don't know that there are rules that govern some of these things. And we are saying that whether rules govern it or not, please just look at. Now, what's the end of Chris Monk? Let's profile him. He became a house member in England at 14. So you confirm what I'm saying to you. He became a house member at 14. By peerage, he became a member of the House of Lords by 17. And then by 28, he had started this thing called boxing.
But Tosin, how do you convince the average human being, that the likes of Anthony Joshua, the likes of Usyk, who recently decided to vacate all of his 4 belts, Alexander Usyk, the likes of Muhammad Ali, the list is endless. People who didn't have a future, but took to boxing as a form of expression and referred to it as an art, and have become notable figures around the world, standing before kings and presidents and listened to just by virtue of the fact that they become honorable human beings by getting involved in the art of boxing and even the UFC. How do you convince these people that this sport is dangerous to themselves and to people who are watching it?
It's okay. First and foremost, do you agree that Ali is the greatest exponent of boxing? Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, he's spoken of in glowing terms up until tomorrow.
And we have footages of his interviews where he himself condemned, bringing in the racial dimension into it now, condemned the sport. And he was, filmed to have said, even Tyson, who later became much popular in it after many years after Ali, said, my son said he wants to box for what? And that lends credence to the racial dimension to it. In America, there's racial profiling once you are black. And so even the society felt that it was for the never-do-wells. It's not for people born of nobility. So, and sometimes I have been able to reason so many things that the white folks have done. We have to be careful. We're on air, and so we are supposed to be very careful lest we are accused of racist, utterances and what have you. But then sometimes these the white folks have done things that have come back to haunt them, and they are not even happy about it. Let's look at the issue of the incidents of slavery again. They came here to take our people, able-bodied ones. Those who were not fit were not taken, and those who fell sick during the voyage that lasted 3 weeks or a month were jettisoned into the oceans.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's how black people became a part of their society. And they are complaining about us now. But you people came here to take our people. Our people we didn't know anything overseas before. Everything was being done here. Our civilization started and ended here. It's you people who were out of curiosity, adventurism, came, discovered us. And so when it came to a time that our own young ones now started going to discover them, we started shouting. The society threw up people like the KK guys in the US, people like Trump. Now you are complaining, but you started this. So now in the US, in those days, after they have taken a flight because of the plethora of court decisions that rendered boxing illegal, now they came to the US and then it was left. They were lackadaisical about it. It's for those never-do-wells guys. Just let them be. And now it became a multi-trillion-dollar, I must admit, industry.
Yes.
But the fact that, you see, in law, you don't build something on nothing.
But since there's a lot of money involved now,
That's what I'm saying. You don't build something on nothing.
how do you squash it?
Good. We are saying retain the martial aspect of it because it gives discipline. It's good. Self-defense is recognized in law. If you try to bamboozle me, for instance, I'm permitted to fight back.
When you say retain the martial arts part of it, what are you talking about? Kung Fu and all the other?
Whatever it is that you do to develop yourself, but it's not for commercial purposes, is allowed in law. I'm not the one saying it.
Is there any sport that is not commercially viable? There's not one.
No. These two we have talked about are not commercially viable.
Boxing.
It's because they allowed it. It was illegal in the UK.
But now it's legal.
That's what I'm telling you, that in law, you don't, no matter for how long, boxing hasn't been on in Nigeria for more than 100 years yet. And then if we are talking about this, we are looking at, you see, are you saying that Africans should just keep short and watch globalism play out?
If you're benefiting from it and it's taking you away from poverty, why should I condemn it?
The reason why we are saying that we condemn it is, I've kept talking about this, but you seem to have been missing it. The spirit behind the sport itself.
But spirit,
it's cruelty. It's cruelty.
I cannot hold on to spirit. Spirit is not tangible. I can't hold on to it.
No, not in that sense. What we are saying is, when you say spirit behind something, what is the motivation?
Money.
And we are saying, money is not the motivation.
How can you prove
money
that?
Is the end product. No. Money is its end product. The motivation is, look at someone and, okay, I can beat up this guy. In the days of might was right. That was it. Anybody can come, and that's why raiding wars were prevalent in those days, in those ages. But what we are saying is that we are, look at the total picture first of all. We are saying we are modern man now. Civilization has entered. I'll just sit down and someone walks in and start whipping people's asses. Let me use at least words.
No, but that's not how it's done now, Tosin. I think that's not how it's done. We're not talking about two people who for some reason...
How about the promoters? Ali demonstrated it with Joe Frazier. I watched several interviews of these guys. He said, look, let us... Just we were interviewing, the interviewer was talking to the two of them, and Ali said, Joe, what's smoking Joe? Let's start with him. Let's get him. Let's whip his ass. And both,
No, but that was Ali just joking. That was just him just joking. I know.
But then the message has been passed. Because the guy has gone on later, before his death, to condemn the very sport that made him popular. So who is greater than Ali? Tell me. There's none. And then look at Tyson. Tyson also came publicly to say, no, my children will never be engaged in this. No. I did it because it was necessary. We were in the jungle and so on and so forth. Oh, so by accidental error of social stratification, that's it. They are giving some leverage to it. Just because of that? No. Life is much more than that. We are in a civilized world.
Okay, let me ask you this. This agitation of yours,
it.
Is it specifically for Nigeria? Is it for Africa? Because you keep mentioning the fact that, the white people brought this sport to the African continent, and we've seemed to have embraced it, and now it's ruining, whatever it is that we have, the fragments of our personality, of our nature. So are you saying that you want this sport taken away from the African continent? Are you looking at a worldwide scenario?
Worldwide, because I started by saying it's humanitarian. And we are saying worldwide because...
Well, this is a fight that you possibly can't win.
Let me reconstruct it this way. I might not win it. We might not win it at Fable right now, but in the years down the line, I thank God I'm being captured on video. We're going to win the fight. Because you don't stand the head on the tail. You don't do that, and you think that everything will be normal. No, you don't. Someday, many years after I must have gone, this issue will be revisited.
You know what would possibly strengthen your case? If you had one of these very famous boxers, sitting alongside you and saying that, look, I was involved in this, and these are the demerits, these are the disadvantages, and I'm asking and I'm telling the younger generation, please don't get involved in boxing. Do you have any such personalities?
Don't go too far. Ali did that already. Tyson did that already.
That could be, that's argument. I could argue that and say that whatever he said jokingly, But
no. Ali's case wasn't a joke. Tyson's case wasn't a joke. They weren't joking.
But I'm just suggesting,
they weren't joking.
If you can find somebody who's been involved in the sport actively, maybe even retired, yeah, a well-known personality who can sit alongside you and say that this and that.
And you don't think some people will still say, well, after you have gotten all the money you wanted from it, and you now want to prevent
Yeah, but
us
it's
from
still an
doing the same
argument
thing?
because if your association and you alone is fighting this fight,
I'm not alone.
I'm just saying that you need support or people who've been there, done that.
How you will say, how will support come? Of course, via this kind of
Have you
platforms.
spoken to any boxers?
Oh, we were talking to a few of them. You remember Peter Konyegwachi?
Yes.
He was one of our representatives at Los Angeles 84.
Yes.
Okay, so as I'm talking to you, I am supposed to speak with him. I don't know why it came by coincidence. I'm supposed to speak with him tomorrow, hopefully. But not because of the purposes of endorsement strictly. We have conviction. If you don't have conviction, don't come near. So it will be a plus if we have people like that coming to also lend their voices. But what we need basically is the conviction. We are willing to face the world and let them realize that this has to stop. And I gave you an example of things that the world has done for many years. Maybe I should give you a bit more. Before, excuse me, before 1990, the Berlin Wall existed, not so. Germany was divided hotly into West and East. But at the end of 1990, they are now a federal republic of Germany.
Yeah, but the difference with the Berlin Wall, yeah, Tosin,
yes.
the difference with the Berlin Wall is
Yeah.
that for a number of years, people have been calling for the destruction of that wall. And we're talking Gorbachev now. People have been calling for the destruction of that wall, pull down that wall. Eventually it happened.
That's what I'm telling you.
But it seems to me, because I'm saying this because it seems to me like you're a lone voice in the wilderness.
It's
Yeah?
okay. But then who is
is-
afraid to be the lone voice in the wilderness?
Is there any other people who are backing your claim?
This is how things start. You have to, first of all, have conviction to even come out and publicly start talking about it before you can win converts. Even Jesus Christ, in his gospel, he charged people, go and talk to people about this. It has to start from somewhere. Ticket. So, and then besides, we're not in a hurry. If we were in a hurry, then maybe you say we are seeking some kind of recognition. No. Years after I might have gone, years after my friends and I who signed up to this might have gone, I only happen to be the face. The issue will be revisited. You see, look at, I was talking about things that people hitherto thought were not possible that have come to happen. Look at Gorbachev's country itself, Russia. It used to be USSR. There's a difference between USSR and Russia of today. Now we are talking about them being balkanized. How did it happen? Nobody thought that would happen for so many until 1991. Russia actually became split. Leave that on. Let's go to the US again. Who thought about black presidency before Obama? Nobody. But there were people who came before Obama who played their part. So I might just be, for someone, I might just be someone playing the role of John the Baptist for a certain Jesus to come, as regards boxing abolition and the UFC.
Yeah, but you've got to also, thread the lines, talk to people at the lower rung.
We're doing that.
Have you had any conversation with boxing associations and unions in the country? Dr. Rafi Ladipo.
Do you want to put us in early how would I put it? You want to put us in an early conflict zone?
No, but you've got to
talking
have
about boxing associations who want it. You now want us to go and start hobnobbing with them that we don't want it.
Yeah, but don't you need to convince them that what they're doing and promoting is wrong?
It's not about them, really. Basically, it's not about them. It's about going to the very top. You see, there is a Yoruba proverb that says, the wise man holds on to the head of the fish because the fish starts getting rotten from the head. And the fish moves with the head. So if you try to hold it by the tail, it will leave you.
But the head are the boxing promoters.
That's what I'm telling you. If we want to
boxing-
get to the boxing promoters, get those who are in places like ECOWAS at the sub-regional level, National Assembly at the national level, AU at the continental level, African Union, and then the United Nations at the global level. Those are those who will speak to them. Those are the people they understand their language. That's why we are targeting those. We've written to the United Nations.
And what's been their response?
And we are still waiting for them anyway. But we have taken steps. If you want to see photocopies.
How long has this been?
2 years ago.
3 years.
Yes. And we have continued to talk about it. We are not phased We are undaunted. Yes, we know it's a Herculean task, especially given where we are coming from. If we had come from Europe or the US, it would have gotten far more mileage.
Why?
For
Why?
obvious reasons.
No, tell me those reasons. Why?
Number one, the media theory that we operate is top to bottom. Don't forget, I also did journalism before I became a lawyer, so I understand the nuances of the profession. It's top to bottom. They will rather focus on negative things here and talk about it in their media over there than looking at constructive things happening here. This one, for instance, is because it stands right in the face against them. They will definitely not easily come embrace it. But we know we have a lot of work to do, a lot of talking to, sensitization, and so to convince people to come into this project. They will surely get there. One day, we will get there. We're not in a hurry. That's the beauty. Right now, sensitize people, let them hear that there's a side. We even wrote to Anthony Joshua.
What did he say?
Of course, he would like, who are these people? He doesn't, there is time for that. But we've taken such steps. I can send copies to you. I can show copies to you or to the audience, the viewers. So we are aware of the gargantuan task ahead of us, but we are not phased. That's the point.
How about the arguments that some would make of your desire to be in the eye of the public? Maybe you're looking for some kind of recognition.
Oh my God.
And ultimately the desire is to get some kind of funding to help you pursue this matter. And I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I can
here.
imagine.
Saying, yeah.
And I have to react, sharply to that. Before now, I've always been in media space. I told you I did journalism. I read mass communication. All right. Before at Ogunpoli, for that matter, Mapoli, which used to be the hotbed of, professionals in the field. All right. So before I became a lawyer, I've been talking on TV before this inspiration came. I have been talking on TV long before the inspiration came. So I'm not looking for all such. It's beneath me. It's beneath us. No. That's why I kept telling you about this spirit. I can't, and that's why I got people of similar mindset. We can't stand, the injustice. Look, we read law and we were taught in the faculty of law that grievous bodily harm is unlawful, is illegal. And then somebody comes and says, in the name of sports, you are inflicting grievous bodily harm. It's not done. I also told you about what was established in the state against Coney, that the consent of the participants notwithstanding, boxing, the UFC has failed the test of public policy. What even interests me about UFC again is that some of the rules that were frowned at and they were improved upon in boxing were now brought back in UFC. For instance, in the UFC, if your opponent is down, that's even when you are supposed to go climb over him and start dealing him blows. Look, I can't understand. In the name of civilization, what are you turning the world into? Somebody must still stand up to say, no, the milk of human kindness must not cease flowing in our veins. And not for publicity stunts. No, far from it.
Okay, let me just read some of the statistics, around boxing and MMA. For boxing, I'm talking fatalities in combat sports.
Yeah.
For boxing, it says highest among combat sports, over 900 to 1,000 plus deaths recorded from fight-related injuries since 1890.
That's right.
And when you go to MMA, it says it's much lower in the MMA.
That's right.
About 20 sanctioned plus 9 unsanctioned deaths as of 2026, but none in the UFC. No deaths in the UFC.
Do you know why? Some of these things are just common sense. You said since 1890. As UFC stayed with us that long, UFC, if I can remember, started sometime in the early 90s, maybe 1993, precisely.
Yeah, but they say no deaths have been recorded.
That's what I'm telling you. You can't compare it to boxing, which has been with us for long.
And what he also says is this is over 20 to 30 years of modern MMA.
That's what I'm telling you. There's nothing modern about MMA. I've told you, in MMA, till today, when your opponent is down, unlike in boxing, Broughton's rules was as far back as 1749. Please note it. And it was Broughton rule that established the fact that when your opponent is down in boxing, you don't go fighting. But that's exactly the same thing that the UFC has brought upon us.
Yeah, but those are their rules. Every sport has its rule.
That's why we are saying that these people developed all these things does not mean everybody should just sit down lame duck.
So it disturbs you that
Very disturbing.
boxing has been in the country for God knows how long. Since the 1950s,
Yes.
maybe even a bit later than that as well.
Okay.
But MMA, is gradually edging its way slowly, into a fabric of our society.
And it's deadlier.
And there's a lot of people that are engaged in it now.
Yes,
Lots of very young people are looking for it and looking to see it as a means of exit.
Let me say this, Charles. You know that human nature is such that sometimes when people come out to condemn something, you see some people will take a cue. But if nobody comes out to condemn it, we have said we are going to write. We rose up from a meeting yesterday. We prepared for your interview. We had a meeting. And we told ourselves that we are going to write to all the media houses that enough. And as we are doing all these things, we are also hobnobbing with Nigerian legislators at the House of Reps and at the Senate, trying to get them into this and then talk about this. Let the federal government of Nigeria know what is in it. That this thing has come for 500. Let's distinguish a fact. I used to tell every journalist who asks me, I tell them that fighting, and I think I said it earlier, is innate, is natural. Okay? But
So why not exploit it?
But no. That's why I also said before that all the parameters of human civilization that hold every aspect that has held the society together have all spoken out against fighting. Religion, I gave you an example.
But you can't stop it.
Law. See, we can reduce it.
How?
Commercial aspect of it, no more. The physical benefits from exercises and so on and so forth, and self-defense is good. Okay? I see people, sometimes you pass through the streets of Lagos, open spaces, and then you see they have tied all those things and people are learning boxing skills. For self-defense purposes, it's beautiful.
Okay, let me ask you this. If MMA is modernized, and all of the things that you have against it, hitting your opponent when he's down, if it's modernized and every athlete is advised to use protective gear, would that change your stance?
Well, perhaps it might moderate it because the amateur side of boxing, which they have, reverted to again, is okay. In Cuba, for instance, let me give you an example of Cuba and to tell you how nations can come to terms with what we are talking about. In Cuba, professional boxing is frowned at till today.
But Cuba has some of the best boxers in the world.
I said professional boxing.
Yeah, but those Cubans, they leave Cuba and go and fight in America as professionals because they can make money off it.
I can't remember anyone except maybe Felix Savon, perhaps. Felix Savon.
Because Cuba is such an enclosed country.
But it's a country. You don't say that in international relations. So whether the country is big or not, there's what we call state equality. And I'm giving you an example. And not only Cuba, and most of the Scandinavian countries don't promote boxing. Norway, Sweden, they don't. So it's about a way of life. Look at Japanese people, for instance. At every World Cup now, not just this one, even the previous ones, they will clean up the stadium and then you wonder, what kind of people are these?
It's their culture.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of things we should imbibe. Peace culture. Non-violent culture. Who told you that we can't incorporate that from political science fields? We can. As a matter of fact, I decided to do my PhD in boxing abolition. We can subject it to academic rigors. It's a serious thing. It's not just for the cameras. No. It would be my joy anyway to have this boxing thing and the UFC abolished. Let people who want to fight go into another field. Okay, you won't say because criminality brings food to the table for some people. You won't because of that endorse it, would you?
No, Tosin, your comparisons.
I said, no. Listen, it's not disproportionate.
Boxing is not criminal, is it? It's not.
As of now that we are talking, it is wrong. It may not be a criminal thing, but
what could be wrong to you, Tosin, can be right to another person.
No. There's a meeting point.
If I were to ask people watching this recording now, do a poll. what do you think about boxing? Should it be abolished?
Right now.
I'm sure that you would have a lot more people against you than for you.
Of course, there's a preponderance of that.
Yeah.
Perhaps because of their level of what they know. Okay, until we now start reeling out the facts. And then people are allowed to change their mind, Charles. People can change their minds. If we have the regular exposure, give me 2 weeks to regularly engage the Nigerian public. Give me 1 day to address the United Nations about this. They will change their minds. They will, because we are coming with facts. I'm not talking about sentiments here. We are talking about the human mind. This, for me, I don't know how to put this, but for me, it is a lifelong mission.
For you to stop to be successful at this, yeah, because you keep mentioning the spirit of man, you would have to change the mentality of the average human being to stop them from wanting to engage in fisticuffs, yeah? Because that is a natural phenomenon. Now, when you tell somebody who's at the garage every day at Mushin Oshodi, and every day he's involved in one fracas or the other,
Yes.
and a promoter sees him and says, look, come, you're always fighting. I can make you prosper by virtue of you using your fists.
That's the thing.
And it takes you away from breaking the laws of the land.
That is it.
I can take you away from illegality and make you legal and maybe even heralded by millions of people. He would gladly do
He
it.
will want to do that because there has been no official pronouncement on illegality against boxing or the UFC in Nigeria, for instance. So he will tell him, I want to take you away from illegality, thinking he's taking him into what is legal. All right? And so all these things, for people like us, we are enjoying the human race. People will have every reason to think in one way until there is a change factor. So we represent that change factor. And like I said to you earlier, we're not in a hurry. I tell you the truth. We want to continually, systematically, gradually be exposed, talking to them, trying to make them see the facts of what we are saying. I've just told you about how boxing originated, for instance, just because one young man somewhere just wanted to find his prodigality. It's okay, you come, I want to... Look, what happened to him? That young man, Chris Monk, that they attributed the origin of boxing to in England. He died, for instance, childless. That's not a good one.
Yeah, but that was of choice. No?
It wasn't of choice. He married, but I'm not saying I'm using that as a yardstick to berate him, but
Are you saying he was childless because he was involved in
karma, sort of.
You think it was karma?
He got married. Why do you get married if not to have
No,
children?
some people get married for companionship. Doesn't mean that you must procreate.
Ordinarily, after marriage, you have kids, you have offspring.
Not everybody wants
Okay,
kids.
then apart from that, because of the childlessness,
Yeah.
the peerage royalty was robbed off his family for life because there's nobody to succeed him. That's where you understand the importance of having children, especially at that time, because he was a child and succeeded his father and was in the House of Lords.
So you're saying that because he promoted...
It could be as a karma.
to
It
see-
could be.
You can't
No, I'm saying this because
I know, but you can't
these
prove
are
that.
facts. These are
But
facts
you can't prove it.
that can be talked about.
It can be spoken about, but
Yes.
you can't prove it.
Oh, well, unfortunately, it's part of what we'll talk about. That look at the person that started boxing, look at his end. So if you want to be continuing, if you want to continue promoting boxing, continue. Fate will catch up with you.
But
Providence will
there
catch
are
up with
many
you.
who have engaged in boxing and have had many offsprings.
Oh, I know. But I'm talking about this particular one that invented it and had no offspring. And then the relevance of offsprings, I told you, for that title, it was an ear. He succeeded his father. And so that thing was robbed off his lineage for life because he had no child to replace him. That's what you look at. View it from that context of having children when you have such a title in England at that time. We're talking about in the 17th century. You must have a child to succeed you. So he had none.
Okay, funding is very essential to, projects like this.
Sure.
Is it fair to refer to it as a project?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. I just want to be sure.
Oh, it is.
But
It's a
funding
project.
is very essential. How are you going about this? How are you getting the funding to state your cause?
Before you go and talk to people, you have to start with yourself. So I use proceeds from my earnings. And then some of my friends too have identified and said, no, we believe in this. And then they for example, I was brought here this morning because my car wasn't available. It's gone for some repairs. A guy just said, look, I'll take you. I believe in what, but I told him, I'm going for Fable interview. He said, yes, I believe in the spirit. For me, for people like us, is the spirit. Don't be intimidated. When you hear spirit, don't think it's only in the churches.
No, I'm not intimidated. I'm just saying
episcopal purposes.
No, that's not even
for a lawyer.
No.
For a lawyer, the spirit is most important because they will tell you what's the spirit behind this. What they're telling you is what's the motivation behind it.
So what's the spirit behind lawyers? Because lawyers lie.
Can you?
What's the spirit behind?
Can you hear that?
No, but seriously, lawyers lie. I mean, a lawyer knows that this guy is guilty of this, but you're still willing to go out there and defend the man.
Okay, can you prove that?
That's exactly what I'm saying. You cannot in any way prove spirit.
What lawyers do is logic, and you say it's a lie. For example,
the
example you gave.
But Tosin,
let me talk about the example
Tosin,
you
hang
gave.
on, Tosin. When a man is brought before you,
yes,
and is adjudged to have stolen something, yeah, do you not ask the man if you stole or not?
you ask.
Exactly.
Fair hearing is
Fair
important.
hearing. And the man tells you, yes, I did steal it.
If he said
but
he
I
stole.
want you to defend me. But you still go ahead
No, that's not how we were raised. That's not how we were taught. Once he has said, he confessed that he stole. Okay, the only reason why...
If he confesses, you won't defend him.
Let me land. The only reason why you continue to go, where you go to court with him is to plead for leniency. So, okay, his punishment is supposed to be met with 2 years. And then maybe you raise factors. As a first-time offender, he's sorry about what he has done. Even the judge will look at his mien, his countenance in the courtroom. There are people who do things and show no remorse.
Are you saying that there are no cases where a lawyer knows a man has confessed to a crime,
Yes,
but still goes on to defend the man?
I just explained to you why I will personally, for example, do that.
I'm not saying plead for leniency. I'm saying get the man off.
I don't know of such. I don't know of such. Because the other lawyer who is against him must do his research, must do his homework very well.
Yeah, but he doesn't confess to the opposition lawyer.
They will find out. That's why we have. Many things don't know. Too many people don't know these things.
Yeah, but some things are privileged conversation.
That's why we have cross-examination. I'll ask the guy. For example, I will ask him one or two questions, which will make him come out for the judge to hear that. Okay, can you see what he has done? Okay, so give him the appropriate punishment.
In all of this, Tosin, I'm just saying that you cannot in any way define spirits. You cannot in any way hold on
to a lawyer. Spirit just means motivation.
No, I'm talking about the spirit of a man who wants to fight for a reason, fight for a cause, yeah, and at the end of the day, benefits as a result of getting in the ring, whether it be boxing, whether it be MMA. The whole idea is to gain off it. And your job now is to prevent this person from gaining from something. People are going to be watching now and saying that Tosin is walking down the wrong path.
No. We're not. Oh my God, the most noble path. I invite you. Come on board. Now, let me say this. And perhaps this will douse all the curiosity you've always had.
I hope so.
When you say a man went into something, and then I zeroed in on that word you used, and he is making gains of it. The law is not saying do not make gains in any venture. What we are saying is do not make illegal gains. If in England, as at 1860, 1870s, 1880, there have been court pronouncements saying this thing is illegal. And that's why maybe some viewers need to know why boxing got associated with the US much more than the UK. Ordinarily, it's in the UK that it all started. But because of the plethora of court decisions that frowned at it, that was why they took their flight and crossed the Atlantic and entered into the US. And then the US, the US is a country, some people say it allows. It's not a police country. It's a country that allows you to do whatever you want to do, the American dream. And so their American dream was applicable to the then promoters too. And then that was why boxing began to flourish in the US. And that's the story. But what we are saying...
So what's the reason for boxing now flourishing in Nigeria?
Okay, let me start with the word ignorance. Because I said earlier that part of our received English law was all those laws that were, pronounced in England, including the state against Coney, which is a landmark case that illegalizes boxing as a sport. So perhaps ignorance. And that's why people like us have come to let people know, no matter for how long you have gone on a wrong direction, someday, the only thing you can do, the only cure to a wrong direction is to begin to go back.
Are there any cases in Nigeria that makes boxing illegal? Because you keep referring to this Cooney case. Are there any cases within?
Because that's where we got it from. If I got a person from you, of course I'll relate with the person with you in view. I'll relate with the fellow with you in view. So boxing and everything that came here, and I've always said it to people several times that fighting, for instance, is innate. If you go and do research on the internet, don't forget this cliche that garbage in, garbage out. Human beings are the ones who are also influencing contents on the internet. Some people will be telling you that boxing is traced to Sumeric writings and all the. I said no, boxing is human. It's a human tendency. Even animals fight, so human beings fight. So you can't trace it to a particular place. Excuse me. You can't trace it to a particular place to say this is and they write these things and it assumes some position of authority in the lives of readers. So you should be able to question some of these things. That no, I disagree that you cannot say boxing is traceable to Sumer, all those olden days prehistoric colonies. It's human nature to fight. So it's natural. But we are saying that civilization has crept in. In fact, it didn't creep in. It boldly seized us. So if we say we are modern men, that's the viewpoint. Then every vestige, every relic of anachronism should be done away with, including boxing and the UFC.
Okay, so you say this fight has been in existence for the past 2 years?
This fable thing?
Yes.
Oh, for about 7 or 8 years. Okay, it's been in phases.
So before then, because it must have been, who started this? Was it you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
With all humility.
So before this, before you made it official, yeah, it must have been in your mind for quite a while. What exactly is it that you saw that made you begin this journey?
Anyway,
because everybody has an experience.
Yes.
For some people, I know somebody whose parents, yeah, died as a result of cancer. And for that reason,
and then he will promote.
For that reason, she wanted to be a doctor, find the cure to
yeah.
cancer. Got into medical school,
Yeah.
and up until today is still researching, the causes and cure for cancer. So for you, what was it? What was your experience? What did you see that made you want to go into this?
Humanitarianism. Anything.
Somebody didn't beat you up some time ago.
Oh, can you imagine? Look at the way your mind is working.
There's some experience.
No. I as a kid, I grew up, never fought. Never. So, and that puts me in a position of calmness at all times, So I like to talk about peacemaking. I even did courses. I did my master's in peace studies. All right? So this is me, a fine gentleman. I want to be a gentleman at all times. So when you see people fighting, we want to, no, don't do that. That's the experience I've always had. So one day I just sat down and I saw one of Pacquiao's fights. I know Pacquiao in his heydays would beat mercilessly.
Yeah.
I saw the guys, I was I put myself in his shoes. Like, what if I was the one that got beaten up this way?
Yeah.
Yes, of course, they would have paid him, but how about his pride? How about his ego?
Yeah.
And I have lots of that anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so all these things began to take shape. And before I could say Jack Robinson, I started writing and posting it on social media that boxing should be abolished. I made researches. I found out that a lot of people like you
so
too.
reactions on social media,
Yeah.
what has it been? For, against,
Oh, of course,
percentages?
we've had both. I'll say, okay, it will excite you. More for, but the few that have been against have been, my God, so scathing. Yes,
Yeah, that's what social media is.
yes, so scathing. But it's okay. I'm not bothered. We have a place where we're going.
Yeah.
If you keep looking at all such remarks from people, you will never arrive there.
Yeah.
All right. So, and that's why I used to give this example of slavery. Slavery from research lasted over 500 years. So it's never about for how long something has gone on.
Look, to be honest, Tosin, as much as I want to argue against, because that's the whole idea, to see the pluses and the minuses. I've never been a fan of boxing or mixed martial arts.
Okay.
I never have been. And I
You're-
really
you're a
think
fine man. You
I really
shouldn't.
think it's a
Like-
brutal
like
sport.
Ali.
I really
Brutal.
think it's a brutal sport.
Brutal.
But the idea of banning it outrightly, I don't see how you're going to win it. But as much as you try and continue to carry your cause through, I hope that someday that it will find a place, find a home where people can sit back, think about it seriously, and realize that maybe it's doing a lot more harm than good, for our society. But this is where we round off, and I want to say thank you for being on the Playzone podcast.
Thank you, too.
We'll continue to
Appreciate
follow your story,
Thank you.
and maybe one day somebody will listen to you. Maybe one
Don't
day.
forget that I said earlier that it's worth the life.
Yeah.
All right. So many years after I must have gone, or we must have gone, this issue, if it is not accepted now, will be revisited. I tell you.
All right, so that was Tosin Akande, a lawyer, former media person as well. Yeah,
Can you imagine?
right here on the Playzone podcast. That's the episode. Hopefully, you'll be here again for us next episode. We're going to continue talking about the FIFA World Cup, and our next show right here on the Playzone podcast will have a set of journalists who are going to be giving us their expression as far as the FIFA World Cup is concerned, and of course Nigeria's inability to qualify for the major tournament yet again. Thank you once again, Tosi, for being on the
It's a
Playzone
pleasure.
podcast.
It's a pleasure.
Okay. All right, so that's our show. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Welcome to the Playzone Podcast.